you. I'm the Chief of Police here in Webster Police Department. With me today is Webster Animal Control Officer Desiree Roussin, DESIREEROUSSIN. From the Massachusetts Environmental Police, Captain Scott Amati, SCOTT, AMATI. I also have James Gallagher, JAMES, GALLAGHER. I'm sorry. And Mac Robuski. Joan. Why did I write Joan? I'm sorry. Joan Gallagher. That's why we're doing it. We're doing it live. Take two. JOAN. I was like, that's not. I know that's not right. Joan Gallagher from Reptile Rainforest Shows. I get that part right. Rainforest. Son of a gun. And Mac, MACK, RAL, BOUSKY. BOV. Sorry, my V looks like a U. From the Department of Conservation and Recreation, Zachary Poitras, ZACHARY, POITRAS, and Ethan Prario, ETHAN, PRARIO. So I'll just bring us up to speed, and then I'll turn it over to the respective speakers for the respective agencies. On July 18th, the Webster Police Department became notified that a water monitor had gotten loose at 17 Blueberry Hill. We immediately notified our Animal Control Officer, Desiree Roussin, and she responded up to the area along with Webster police officers, where a brief search was conducted in the area for it with negative results. So at that point, we essentially issued a social media post asking people to be on the lookout for it in the area. Not knowing much about water monitors, and not knowing where they would go, we were hoping that it would essentially just poke its head out and somebody would see it and call us, and we'd be able to capture it and get it to where it needed to be. Several days went by. Last, we had a possible sighting in Thompson, Connecticut, and then we had a confirmed sighting last Wednesday in Douglas State Forest, where someone actually had a picture of it, and that led us to that area. And over several days, we were able to find it, and I'll turn it over to Captain Amati, and he can talk about the process that happened to capture the water monitor that we now know as Goose.
Could you do me a favor? Could you ask Colin and Travis to come in? Sure. Good evening, folks. Again, Captain Amati of the Mass State Environmental Police. As mentioned, we were brought involved in this as the animal in question. A water monitor is not legal to possess in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts unless you have a special permit to do so. We received the call, I believe it was on that particular Wednesday, and the investigation was assigned to EPO Travis Heward, H-U-A-R-D for his last name, who began an investigation into the matter. We spent much of the next 3 or 4 days looking for the animal. Several times it was found. We'd actually spray painted a spot on one of the roads, and 3 of the 4 days it was found within 5 feet of that spot. On Saturday, it was found by Zach and Ethan from DCR. They contacted us. I was actually relatively close to the area. We headed down. I was joined by Detective Sergeant Colin Haynes also. We went in the woods, and after a short amount of time, we were able to find the animal. And the reason that we couldn't find it for several days is it actually went under a root in a tree within 15 feet of the area. So after a bit of time looking into the matter, we figured out the best way to try and get the animal out. We tried several attempts with hard-boiled eggs and things of that nature. Finally, we had put out a couple pieces of chicken. Basically had an opening about this big, put 2 catch poles there, and when he came through, it was pretty surreal to do so, and we managed to catch him. Very strong animal for its size. Fairly well behaved, all things considered, until we got the catch poles on it. Then it's a wild animal. Obviously, it tries to defend itself at that point. We ended up placing it in a container at that point. Got the catch poles off of it, and contacted Rainforest Reptiles, and they came to collect the animal itself. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Joni from Rainforest Reptiles, and we'll answer any questions at the end. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joan Gallagher. I'm the president of Rainforest Reptile Shows and RRS Oasis, which is our nonprofit entity. We've been working with the environmental police since 1996 when we took a cobra out of a school in Stoneham, Massachusetts. Since that time, we've been instructing and training law enforcement and conservation officers all throughout the Northeast, including internationally Canada. We are the people who train the officers, and we do it as a courtesy to them so that they are protected when they run into these issues. And we've been doing it for, well, since 1996 pretty much. Now, as far as Goose goes, he will come and he will stay at our sanctuary. We are in the process right now of building him a new enclosure. I am going to turn this over to Mac in just a few minutes. Mac is the Vice President of Rainforest Reptile Shows, and he has an extensive background in monitor lizards. He was the curator of Komodo dragons down at Brevard Zoo. So I'm going to turn that over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mac, and again, I am the Vice President at Rainforest Reptile Shows. I just want to give kudos to everyone here who were a part of this effort. It's not an easy feat to catch an animal like this, especially with having no real concrete idea of where they are. There was many sightings, but there was only so many confirmed sightings. So I really want to give kudos to everyone here, especially once they did locate him, just to get him in capture equipment to be able to get him safely captured is a huge feat. I can't understate how much work and effort it does take in order to capture an animal like this that is incredibly elusive. I have been working with animals like this for a very long time. As Joni mentioned, I was an animal curator down at a zoo in Florida and worked with Komodo dragons. I've also worked at other accredited facilities working with all different kinds of animals, ranging from rhinoceroses all the way down to the smallest reptiles, including venomous reptiles. We consult with law enforcement honestly across the country, but primarily in the Northeast, and even federal agents and internationally into Canada, where they do come out to our sanctuary and we work with them, including species like large constricting snakes, things like reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons, monitor lizards, venomous reptiles, so that when they walk in, they have some certainty what they need to do to be safe in that situation and make sure that they're protecting the general public. And we do this as like Joni said, a full courtesy to make sure that everyone is staying safe out of, most of the time, out of our own pocket. All of the proceeds that we use to support these animals, and we have probably about 400 animals at our sanctuary, RRS Oasis, are all funded through educational programming that we do to help educate and teach the next generation of why these animals are so important and why we need to save their general habitats, as well as proper pet ownership. This animal is illegal to possess in the state of Massachusetts without the proper permitting, so it's incredibly important that when you are getting pets that we are doing our research. Other states have different laws, so you have to be mindful if you're going to another state to purchase a reptile or any animal that it matches the laws within that state. Every single animal that we have in our care, we do not purchase a single one. They all come to us from situations like this. Many times they don't get publicized, and then we financially burden all of the costs associated with them, including things like vet care, habitat construction, and making sure that they thrive and have the best well-being possible. Our top priority is always the animals, and we want to make sure that they can thrive in our care. We will be bringing out Goose to allow everyone to see. He is incredibly nervous at this point from the couple of weeks that he's been out and exploring the wilderness of Massachusetts. So I just need for everyone, when he does come in here, to stay very calm and really no significant sudden movements, just because we don't know how he's going to react. He was a previous pet, so he's a little less reactive than, say, a wild animal would be, but that doesn't mean that in a room full of people where he is not used to anything, different scents, different things going on, he may not be reactive. We will allow him to kind of tell us when he's all wrapped up by just his general body language, and I'm going to be watching for a few different factors. If you guys do have any questions or anything like that, we're more than happy to answer anything throughout. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So do you have any idea how far, distance-wise, he actually traveled while he was
Yeah, so I'll let Scott.
Yeah, I'll answer that, sir. The location it was taken from escaped from on Blueberry Lane is about 2 miles, 2.5 miles away, almost direct north-south from the location it was in. It was located off of Southwest Main Street in the jurisdiction of Douglas.
Are these dangerous reptiles?
They, like any other wild animal, they can be. They have razor-sharp teeth, pretty sharp claws, and again, this was a somewhat domesticated critter. So it was a little easier. If that was a straight wild one, this would have been a lot harder to do. But yes, any wild animal can be dangerous. When you have an animal that has teeth as sharp as this, claws as sharp as it, basically it's a big muscle also. It's very difficult to hold on, hold on to.
Do you guys have any scrapes or scratches from
Nope.
catching them?
Nope. We ended up, I was defecated upon, but other than that, it is what it is.
Are the people who owned him illegally facing any charges or facing any consequences?
Yes. We knew this was what was coming. All right. With this particular manner, with most fish and wildlife crimes, you have 5 options. You have a verbal warning, written warning, a non-criminal citation, a summons, or an arrest. This could have reached any of those levels. Through the investigation done by Officer, we stopped by. We spoke to the individual. While they knew they were not in possession of the animal, there's a lot of stuff going around. I was personally at the facility looking at it. The animal was very well taken care of in the time it was there. There was no issues with that. The wounds that people are seeing on it were pre-existing. That's actually part of the reason she had it. She was trying to work with rehabbing. In this particular manner, the state felt after looking into it, there was no history or anything else like that. All the animals being taken care of. The party was cited non-criminally. Okay, there were 2 charges in it, one being the possession of the animal itself, Chapter 131, Section 25, and then the lack of an importation permit. Again, if you're going to bring an animal into the state of Massachusetts that is required to have a permit, you'd have to have that importation permit also. That was issued as a warning in that particular manner. And it is presently in the court waiting for disposition to be completed.
Are there any bad environmental factors associated with having a water monitor in Massachusetts for it?
A single water monitor, I'm guessing like a lot of chipmunks wouldn't like it around, quite frankly. But any animal that comes in that has the potential to be invasive, water monitors, anybody that takes a look down into Florida, and Mac and Joni can talk about this a lot more if you need to, but they're significantly affecting the population down there. One of the limiting factors with this particular animal is, again, temperature up here. Okay, that was the big concern on our part. We wanted to find this animal very quickly. They're a very, very temperature-sensitive animal. The only reason we caught it basically is because it came out to sun itself by the asphalt to get warm. Just like a turtle, just like a snake that we have up here. They come up, they warm themselves up with the sun. They're ectotherms. And that's how we ended up catching it, which is what I figured was going to happen at one point or another. When you start getting these into large numbers, then you see what happens in Florida. Florida has almost no small mammal population left because of the invasive reptiles that are down there.
Question here. You mentioned something about drawing something. Can you just explain that again? And also the resources and time and manpower to do this. Was it worth it?
Okay, the marking was simply, basically we marked the street with a piece of paint.
Which street?
Southwest Main Street, sir. Okay, as for your resource question, well, we have an animal that was released that at one point could have been detrimental to the natural population. We have a population that was put into a great deal of fright by people on social media for an animal that was going to attack small children, eat cats and dogs, with very little scientific information put into it. The resource and man hours, yeah, we put a lot into it, but in the end, we have the animal back. The animal will be taken to Rainforest Reptiles, where it'll live out a happy, healthy life. So in the end, yeah, I would definitely say it was worth it.
Quick question.
Sir.
So when in the process of finding Goose, those 2 DCF members, how did that happen? The timeline of how you found Goose in the area.
Okay. Well, it's DCR, not DCF.
DCR, excuse me.
That's not it. But Zach, would you like to?
So it was a Saturday afternoon. We were just out and about. We knew it was in the area. We decided to take a ride over, and lo and behold, it was just sitting on the side of the street.
Which street?
Southwest Main.
Mm-hmm.
We followed it in, and it was like, as Amadi said, 10 to 15 feet off the street. So it was right there in front of us.
And where did he go exactly? I know that there was a mention of trying to fish him out with chicken. Explain how that happened.
Well, and again, none of this would have happened without Zach that particular day. We'd actually had an onlooker come by with a large pickup truck making a lot of noise. We had to shoo away, and in the time we actually had eyes on the animal, and in the time frame that we were yelling at them to go away, we lost sight of it. Spent about 5 minutes in the woods after that, and I was ready to call it quits at that point because I didn't want to spook it any further. Zach had found a small cavern underneath the root of a tree, which was in direct line of where the animal was, which we had all just missed due to the vegetation that was present. Took a look in there, and there's a tongue sticking out at me. So that was how we found him.
Are you able to see the closest cross street on Southwest Main? Where
Yep, Southwest Main down by High Street, probably about 500 to 750 feet northeast of the intersection.
And which town was this?
This is Douglas, sir. Yep, it's right before the Connecticut line. That's why we were getting lots of folks reporting it down in Thompson. And I have seen reports that, this thing traveled in excess of 30 miles somehow or another. Somebody reported that Thompson is 13 miles away from Douglas when they touch each other. So, again, I don't understand how that works. But
does the animal have any injuries?
The animal had no injuries that we noticed at the time other than the pre-existing ones. Mac and Joni can explain anything further on the animal's health.
Was it emaciated at all? Hungry?
Yeah. So since he had been out of containment for such a long period of time, he was very hungry when he first came into our care. We did offer him a meal of different meat products and things like that, and he immediately took them. If he did defecate on Captain Amati, most likely he probably did have some food items when he was out and about. But just to talk about the injuries and things like that, there's a lot of photos online that you can see of the white marking that's actually along Goose's back, and you'll see it today. That's actually most likely from a prior injury from when he was in another person's care. So that's scar tissue over time. As they shed, they're actually regenerating that old skin and making it so that they can, just like us when we're healing from a cut and things like that, the most common culprit for things like that is actually a heat light or a burn. But there's all different factors that could actually be determined from that specific instance.
Do we know if he was brought up from Florida, or where did he come to Massachusetts from?
Okay, the animal came from Massachusetts, from New Hampshire, out of New Hampshire. We are still working on bits and pieces of that portion of it. As for the injury, it was described as, to me, and I wouldn't know this because I didn't have the chance to talk to him about it. Apparently, the animal got stuck underneath something at one point, and when they tried removing it, not the person that had the care of it today again, previous owner had ended up getting the injuries at that point.
And Goose managed to escape captivity. He wasn't released from captivity.
Correct. Goose escaped through a screen window.
Is this how you all thought you'd be spending your summer?
I'm thrilled. I'm a big reptile and amphibian guy, so I have no concerns with it whatsoever. I spent some time working in Florida chasing alligators. So.
And you sounded pretty confident the whole way that you were eventually going to find Goose. Is that?
Oh no! I had concerns. Again, you've heard people mention needle in a haystack. Again, Douglas State Forest it's huge. It's a large piece of property. I was getting concerned when we get these reports and he would just disappear that fast. You had a lot of years of experience out looking for it, and just happens to be. It shows you no matter how much you know, there's always something new to learn. So, anything else for the man of the hour? Actually, unknown male or female at the time. But
You want help?
Yep.
That and Lottie, if you want to help. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen to Goose from this forward. Goose is going to be going for a health inspection tomorrow. He's all set up and ready to go to the vet, at which time we will release some information about that once we have that confirmed. When that is confirmed, he will go back to our sanctuary, RRS Oasis, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, and he will be quarantined for about 6 weeks. We will post a few videos, a few pictures of him, but as far as coming out to the public or anything like that, that won't be happening until he is out of quarantine. We have also discussed for the residents here of Webster, that we will try to have a specific day that if people would like to view him personally, we will try to do that. This all comes down to him, to Goose himself. If he's up for it and we feel that he would be comfortable doing that, we will do that. If he's stressed out and he doesn't feel comfortable doing it, we will not do it. But we will keep everybody apprised to that. And again, I want to say we have received a few donations. I want to thank everybody who has donated. I know Mac touched upon it. We actually started the nonprofit because the co-founder, Michael Robuski, and myself, Joan Gallagher, funded this, have always funded this since 1996 when we started doing this. So we had to start the nonprofit because it became burdensome. We financially could not do it like we would wanted to have it done. So any donations we do appreciate. We think that would be great, and we will keep everybody updated on that.
So guys, you can see he's a melanistic animal, which means that he's pretty much all black in coloration. He's got oversaturation of the black pigmentation throughout his body. He's not what a normal water monitor or Asiatic water monitor would look like. He is pretty calm in general. He is trying to manipulate himself to kind of look around and see what's going on. But you can see those marks on his back, and that's what I'm talking about by the prior injury. Normally, he would just have all that black coloration around his body. So he does have that really long tongue, and that's one of their best senses that they use. They smell with their tongues. He has 2 holes on the roof of his mouth called Jacobson's organs that they can smell, and they can smell even better than people can. Monitor lizards have extremely long tongues to be able to do that. You can see that he's not 100% comfortable being held, but he is pretty calm. A really nervous lizard would be turning and attempting to bite and do things like that. But again, he's had a very eventful couple of weeks. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
And I do want to say this is just one example of what the environmental police and our organization does that you don't hear about. We do this all the time.
Is he full size?
No. So monitor lizards or Asian water monitors like him can sometimes exceed somewhere about 8 to 9 feet long and weigh up to about 90 or so pounds, but that's a really big individual. On average, they're going to be about 6 to 7 feet and weigh probably about 50 to 60. So he will get bigger. I don't know the sex or the age of this animal, but I would assume probably a younger guy, not super old. I'd say somewhere between probably 5 and 8 or so.
There you go. Is there any footage of Goose's arrest, so to speak?
Yes, there is.
Do you know when it will be released?
Hopefully sometime later today, sir. That's the plan.
This is done great.
So good.
Now keep in mind, in the wildlife trade, from talking to Mike, he had explained this animal, again, with the markings on its back, it's going to devalue it, but potentially has the value of between $6,000 and at fully grown $20,000.
Why are they so expensive? Like what
They're rare. The fact that you can't have them, you will find in a lot of, believe it or not, in the criminal trade, you will find with animals it's a status symbol. You'll start off with your excuse me, your lower tier criminals, they'll have alligators and things like that. And as you go up, you'll get into monitor lizards, you'll get into cobras, you'll get into lions, tigers, bears, the whole shebang. Again, it ends up being a status symbol. Some of these animals are very, very rare.
And it is also up to breeders. Breeders, when they have one animal, will breed specific animals together to get a new color because that's a product. They can sell that color as a product. And as they do that more and more, where Max said he's melanistic, he's bred specifically for this color. This would be very unusual to happen in the wild.
And one other thing, just to talk about a value of an animal like this. At our sanctuary, we don't put a value on any single individual animal. They are all animal life, and we want to make sure that we cherish and allow them to thrive. If you ask me, honestly, I'd have no idea how expensive an animal like that is. It makes zero difference to me. The most important thing to us is that he's going to have a permanent home where, again, he can thrive and have the best well-being possible. He's doing so good right now.
I know, I'm amazed.
So one other thing to think about with these lizards too is they can hear. A lot of people don't think that lizards can't hear. They do have ears on the side of their heads. That's what that hole is on the side of his head. And they can hear just like we can. They just don't have, say, a full developed ear on the outside to help hold the sound in like we do or mammals do.
Do they swim? Like, are they amphibians?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they swim very, very well. That's the name, water monitor. That's where they get that name. I'm just going to readjust them here. They swim very, very well in places like Southeast Asia and South Asia where they live. They are extremely aquatic. They hunt for fish all the time. They feel very confident and comfortable in the water, and it allows them to cool down very, very well.
How fast is he?
He can move quick when he wants to. He can move up to about 12 miles per hour when he really wants. And when they're moving quick, they move very quick. And that's how they catch all the different prey items that they'd be searching for in the wild, is they're just very, very quick animals. It's okay. All right. Well, I think from there, we're going to go ahead and put them back and let them rest. Yeah. Okay.
Good job.
Good job, Goose.
That's very good.
I mean, with all the memes going around, it's like, nah, he's no stranger to the camera.
Right.
He's kind of our unofficial mascot of Webster. Part of me is sad to see him go. So one thing I do want to point out, and I just want to thank all the agencies that were involved in the capture of Goose. Our animal control officer worked hours and hours and hours with the environmental police and the DCR folks. This is a true team effort, and I don't think we would have had the outcome that we had. And the rainforest folks, the Reptile Rainforest Show, yes. This was a true team effort. It really was, and I'm thankful that it had the outcome that it did. I had my doubts. I didn't think we were going to find him. Then when we had the sightings, there was a little bit of hope there, and I'm glad that we had the outcome, and he's going to a place where he'll be well taken care of. And I just want to thank everybody that was involved in this. That was a huge undertaking for us, and we had a great outcome for it. So, if anybody has any other questions?
Just another clarifying question. Do you know where you can find the footage? I forgot to ask about where the footage would be when it comes out today.
Well, I'm not a media person. My understanding is we'll have something out at our website at one point. That is the goal.
And another question, if possible, are you able to disclose the name of the person who owned Goose?
I actually, believe it or not, and nobody's going to believe me that I don't know it. But, so again, those are court records. You could look at it into that regards. I don't know what the chief said while I was out for a second. I did want to make sure to thank all of our partners in this. Gentleman here asked about, again, resources. Again, this is why we're here, folks. We're here to help folks, and again, on our side, if we can help critters along the way. It was a pleasure to work with all of the folks involved. You would not have been able to do this alone in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, I've got a small amount of experience with this. Mike and Joni have a ton. But a good team effort by everybody from Webster PD to DCR to the ACO to Rainforest to us. Again, it's a nice example of what happens when folks work together. You get a good ending out of it, and we'll all move forward. And again, he's in the Taj Mahal of places to be now. So he ended up lucking out and hitting the lottery. All right, thank you.
Anybody has anything else? Or?
5 feet, 5 foot.
Yeah.
I'd say he's more closer to about 4 feet.
4 feet.
4 feet in length. Yeah, he's a little smaller than initially reported.
Can I just get a couple more names? Or should I do this when all the cameras are off? Or?
It's up to you folks.
We can do it now.
So, your name, sir?
Zachary Poitras, Poitras.
Zachary?
Yes.
And you're with the DCR?
Correct.
Okay. And what's your name again, sir?
Scott, last name's Amati, A-M-A-T-I.
Captain.
Captain with the Mass Environmental Police.
Joan Gallagher.
J-O-A-N?
Yep.
And you are with
I'm the president of Rainforest Reptile Show.